Nice to see you again on my channel. Let's dive into the new story and try to resolve it together in the comments below after watching this video. Get comfortable and let's begin. I opened the door and saw our boss on top of my wife. I stood there for a second and yelled out, "Surprise!" D-Day was 10 days ago, on May. I won't forget that day now either because it was right after our anniversary. Since then, I've been reading a lot of posts on this sub and it has been helpful to know that I'm not the only one. Now, I'm thinking about posting what happened because I think details matter and I've been playing it over and over in my head every day. The story: I've been with my wife for 29 years, married for 26. I'm 51M and she's 49F. We have 2 grown kids, a 24-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter, who met in college, dated, fell in love, and got married. We believed we had a great marriage. We did a lot of things together, talked all the time, and communicated about things that were troublesome. Both of us had successful careers that we supported each other in, and along the way, we had a great love life, maybe not as often as when we were younger, but just as passionate. She's in IT, and I own a small landscaping company that employs 75 people, which I started after graduation. She's been working from home a lot since COVID, and we have been talking about my easing out of the day-to-day operations and going part-time so we can spend more time together and travel now that the kids are established. Looking back, there were no red flags that I've read so much about. No weird texting, no guarding her phone, no clothing changes, no unusual behavior, no nights out with people from work. When she did go out, it was with friends and family, and I always heard from someone the next day how I should have come. But I wanted her to go out without me, and I enjoy being by myself, doing stuff in my shop. To say I was blindsided is an understatement. D-Day, the week before, I booked a weekend at a romantic bed and breakfast owned by some friends. Our state's winter festival was that weekend, and I left work early to surprise her and tell her to pack a bag. We're going away for our anniversary. I pulled my truck into the driveway and found a strange car there. Right away, I just knew. I don't know why, but I did. I'm hoping and praying I'm wrong, but my gut is telling me I'm not. I sat there for a while, wondering what to do. Leave and talk to her later? Leave it and pretend I didn't see it? Not sure what to do. I'm shaking so bad I can't see straight. When I have something at work I have to do that might be uncomfortable, I always tell myself, man up, get this over with. Suddenly, the shaking stops, and I feel very calm. I have no idea how because inside, I'm a wreck. I sneak in the back door, and my black lab is laying there with a sad face like he knows. Instead of jumping on me, man, I love that dog, he stays as I quietly go up the stairs. When I get upstairs, I can hear what's going on in our bedroom. I get to the door and open it, and see her boss on top of my wife. I stand there for a second and yell out, "Surprise!" The crap show that followed would be laughable if it didn't hurt so much. He rolls off, trying to get out of bed, but he gets tangled up in the sheets. My wife is screaming. I'm trying to cover up, but I can't because you're still tangled up. He finally gets out and starts looking for his clothes. Only they're on the other side of the bed. This just hit me in about the same spot where mine used to end up. I don't know why, but I beat him to them and grabbed them. My wife is crying and saying, "I'm so sorry," over and over. I back up to the door and stand there. He's standing next to the bed naked. I grab the big easy chair out of the corner and pull it to the door and sit down. He asks for his clothes, and I say no and toss him my wife's robe from the back of the door. He starts to walk towards me now. Even though I'm 51, I'm in good shape, 6 feet 3 inches tall, and 240 pounds. Years of going to the gym and working in landscaping have seen to that. I look at him and say, if you get any closer, it's not going to end well for either of us. You'll be in the hospital, and I'll be in jail. So why don't you just sit down? My wife is now sobbing into the pillow, and he sits down. After an uncomfortable silence, he asks, "What now?" My reply is, "I have no idea." My wife is still crying a little, but sits up finally. I pull out my phone and tell them that they are going to tell me everything while I record it all. They look at each other, and my wife asks, "What do you mean everything?" I say, everything. How it started, how long this has been going on, when, where, hotels, dinners, etc. Everything. My wife says, "This is the only time." To which I yell, "BS. There is no way you'd be comfortable enough to bring him to our bed if this hadn't been going on for some time. If you lie to me again, I'm walking out that door and finding a divorce lawyer." She starts crying again, so for the next 10 to 15 minutes, it all comes out. It's been going on for over 9 months. It started with him flirting with her, etc., until he asked her to lunch and she went. A few drinks later, they were at a hotel. She came home to me that night like nothing happened. She swears that it was killing her, and she wanted to tell me but didn't know how. Again, I call BS. If it was killing you, it would not have been so easy to keep it going. They even went to a week-long convention for work that I used to go to with her. She told me that the company policy changed and spouses couldn't go anymore. I put my phone away in more silence, then an idea hits me. I looked through his clothes for his phone and asked him for the passcode. He actually gives it to me, so I start going through his phone. I find some pictures of a woman I assume is his wife and ask her name. "Carol," he says. "She's very pretty, but not as pretty as my Ashley." I tell him to show me more pictures of his kids. I find out he has 3 and finally the family picture of all of them. I hold up the phone and say, "A beautiful family, why did you throw it all away for a tumble with my wife?" His reply, "What do you mean throw it all away?" Me, "You really think Carol isn't going to find out?" Him, "How is she going to find out?" Me, "I'm going to call her right now." He stands up and says, "No, you can't." My wife screams out, "Please, you can't do this to him." I lost it, can't do this to him? You've destroyed me, our family, our friends, our future, and broken my heart, and you're worried about him. I'm shaking again, trying not to let her see me cry, but I can't hold it together anymore. I fall back in the chair and start sobbing. She tries to come over to me, but I look at her and say, "Stay the hell away from me." After a while, I calm down and look at his phone again. He again says, "Please don't, I'm begging you, I swear I'll tell her." "Yeah, right," I reply. He's standing there pleading with me not to as I find her number and decide FaceTime would be even better. She answers in a high sweep, looks surprised, and says, "Who are you? Is my husband okay?" He is for now, but won't be in a minute. I flip the screen to show him standing there in my wife's robe. I say, "I believe you know him." The room he's standing in is my bedroom. The flowered robe he's wearing belongs to this woman. Swinging the phone to catch my wife trying to pull the sheets over her head, but too late. That's my wife, and I came home early today to find them having sex. I truly feel sorry for her and lousy for how I did it. She starts crying, and he tries that, "Honey, I'm so sorry, I can explain, it's just one time, etc. routine." I tell her not to believe a word of it, that it's been going on for over 9 months, and I spent the last 15 minutes recording all the details they were willing to share. I tell her I'm going to text her my number, and she should send me her email, and I'll send her the video. I give him the phone, and I hear her tell him when he gets home, there will be a bag packed outside, and if he tries to come in the house, she'll call the police, and hangs up. I toss him his clothes, and he leaves. Now it's just me and my wife. She looks at me and starts to cry, saying she is so sorry, never meant to hurt me, can I forgive her, it didn't mean anything, all the usual cheaters BS. I look at her, tell her to pack a bag, and get the hell out my house. I go downstairs and pour a drink. I'm sitting on the couch when she comes downstairs. She starts towards me, and I say, "Just stop." She asks if we talk about this, and I tell her maybe, just maybe, but not now. I tell her it's going to be really hard to not look for a divorce lawyer, and she starts crying again. She looks at me, and I know and I love you is coming. I say, don't you dare say that right now, because I don't think I will ever believe it anymore. More crying as she turns and walks out. 30 minutes later, he's in my house and I'm still crying. I give him my phone with a video up, and he proceeds to watch. I can't bear to hear it and get us both a drink. He comes into the kitchen and takes my drink away and dumps them both, saying, "This isn't going to help you." He tells me I can't stay here tonight alone and goes upstairs to pack a bag. I come downstairs and he has my lab on a leash and we go to his house. That was 10 days ago and I still feel like absolute crap. I know this was long. Thanks for reading this far. I will try to update later. Update. First, let me say thanks for the tremendous outpouring of support. I am blown away by the number of people who have commented or messaged me offering support. You have no idea what that means to me and how much it helps. I've tried my best to answer everyone, but probably missed a few, but I have read every single one. Not really an update, but just a continuation of the story of D-Day in the days following. To those of you that commented on how great my friend is, his name is Dan, and I could not agree more. Not sure what I would have done without him. Since we've known each other so long, it only follows that our families would be close. Our kids are friends, used to go camping together as families when they were young, and his wife Terry and mine became close friends over the years. Important to know for what follows. As we're driving to his own, I'm quiet, and Dan is getting angry. When we get to his place, he gets inside and asks Terry, "Did you know?" Her reply is, "No, what?" He raises his voice and asks again, "Did you know?" I grab him and tell him to calm down. That's not her fault. He realizes he's way off and gives Terry a hug and says he's sorry. Terry is now totally confused. I give him my phone and say, "Show her." I take my dog outside. I don't want to hear it again when it's done. Terry runs outside crying and gives me a huge hug. It felt like forever before she stops. She takes my hand and we go inside. The three have spent the next hour or so talking, crying, talking. All this time, my phone is blowing up. You guessed it, my wife. I ignore calls and delete texts without reading. Finally, my son calls. He wants to know what's going on. Mom is at his and his wife's apartment, saying I threw her out of the house. Did she tell you why? No. Give her the phone. You need to tell them why, or I'm sending him the video, and I hang up. 10 minutes later, my son calls back crying. All he could manage was a WTF, WTF. I go from BS to protective dad, telling him it's going to be okay and this is not his fault. He calms down and asks if I'm okay. I tell him, of course not, and start crying again. He finally tells me that mom will stay the night and hangs up almost immediately. My phone rings again, and it's my daughter. I forgot I asked her to dog sit while we're going to be gone for the weekend. She wants to know where Cooper, my lab, is. I tell her something happened and we're not going, but she can stay at the house. Neither of us is coming home tonight. Daughter, what do you mean neither of you? Where are you? Me, I'm at Dan and Terry's and your mama's at your brother's. Her dad, tell me what's going on. Me, I can't right now. I'll be by the house tomorrow and we'll talk then. She keeps insisting I tell her and I keep saying no. She finally gives up and hangs up. I know where the next call is going, so I text my son and tell him to expect a call next. I call my wife and ask if she wants to tell her daughter, or should I? Her only response is to start crying again. I hang up. 30 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. Dan answers and lets my daughter in. She sees me, sees that I've been crying, and runs to me, hugs me, and we start crying, although she doesn't know why. After she calms down and we both stop crying, I call my wife back and tell her our daughter is with me. I ask again if she wants to tell her, or should I phone a speaker, so my daughter asks, "Mom, tell me what again," only crying on the other end. So I say, "I guess I will," and hang up without giving details. I explain that I found out today that her mom has been cheating on me and has been having an affair for 9 months. Just when I thought I couldn't feel any worse, the hurt on my baby girl's face brought me to my knees. She's shaking and can't even cry. I'm on the floor sobbing and can't move. I feel like I let her down when she needed me the most. I couldn't even ducking move. Terry comes over, crying, and hugs her, telling her it will be okay. Dan is bawling too, like I said, close families. She finally lets out this painful wail that I will never forget if I live to 100. I finally get up and go hug them both. We finally all go sit down. No one knows what to say. I ask my daughter if she's going to be okay. She looks at me and says, "Dad, don't worry about me. Are you going to be okay?" I manage to yell, "Manage." She asks if she can take Cooper with her to the house and if her fiancé Tim can come stay there. Of course, I'm thankful she won't be alone. After she leaves, Terry just goes off, saying, "I can't believe she did this," calling her every name in the book. She calms down and grabs her phone, saying she's going to call her. Looking at me, expecting me to say no, I tell her to go ahead but put it on speaker. So she calls, exchanging pleasantries, etc. Finally, she tells her that Mike, that's me, called. Dan is crying after she left the house and that I'm staying there. She, Terry, knows everything. Again, more crying. Terry just unloads, screaming at her, "What were you thinking? How could you? Why didn't you come talk to me before you started down this road? If something was missing, why didn't you talk to Mike? You know how understanding he is. You have any idea how many people you've hurt? How could you be so ducking selfish?" Just more crying on the other end, saying over and over how sorry she is. Terry doesn't hang up and I listen to her cry. After a minute or so, I ask Terry for the phone. "Ashley?" No response. I ask again. Ashley finally says, "Yeah, babe." I say, "You can't call me that ever again." More crying. Me, I just want to know what you're really sorry for. If I hadn't come home early, would you have realized how wrong this was? Or would you have abducted your boss when we got back from the trip? More crying. You're really not sorry for all the people you've hurt, including your boss's family. You're just sorry you got caught. I hang up. Dan, Terry, and I talk for a bit more while the phone blows up again. I finally try to sleep and can't. In the morning, I ask Dan to take me home, give Terry a hug, and tell her how much she and Dan mean to me. I tell Dan I'm going to drive to my cabin and spend some time there. He agrees that's a good idea. As we're driving, I noticed that while my phone was blowing up, there was one message from the boss's wife saying thanks for telling and giving me her email. I send the video and tell her if she needs to vent, she can call me. That it might do both of us good. I quietly pack, not wanting to wake up Darlene and Tim. As I'm unloading up the truck, I grab 2 of my .22 rifles. Dan asks me what I'm doing, and I tell him, "You know I always do some shooting up there." "Not this time," he says, and takes them away. So Cooper jumps in, and away I go. When I get there, about 5 hours later, I open it up. I start a fire in the fireplace. I take Cooper, and we go for a walk in the woods. It helps, but not a lot. Son calls to check in on me, and I tell him where I am. If his mother wants to stay at the house, she can, but she needs to be gone when I come back. He says okay. After our walk, Cooper crashes in front of the fireplace, and I go out to split some firewood. Great workout and very good therapy. Each swing of the axe, I switch between seeing my wife's face and her boss's. I stay Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. On Monday, I start making phone calls. First, my office, letting them know I won't be in for a while but can be reached if something comes up. Next, the attorney I use if something comes up with the company that I need legal help with. He recommends a divorce lawyer. I call her and set an appointment for Thursday. Then, our bank, freezing our joint accounts. Credit cards are next, canceling them all and having them send new cards out. While being alone in the woods gave some clarity as to my next moves, I find myself shaking again, wondering if I really am going to go through with this or try to salvage our marriage. After I get home, I find this sub and start reading other stories. It helps, but only a little. Midweek, I go into the office and talk to my HR manager. She and I have a close professional friendship, which is about to get more personal. I tell her everything and ask for advice on telling their company. She tells me to talk to my lawyer before I do anything. She asked if I'm going to look into ICY. She recommends someone and also says I should see my doctor for an STD check. I call both and make appointments. On Thursday, I see my now lawyer and show her the video. This time I can actually listen. She starts shaking her head and says, "Why do people do stupid crap like this?" Turns out she has absolutely zero tolerance for cheaters. Her husband cheated on her and dragged her through hell so much so that she changed her practice and became a divorce attorney. She assures me everything will be okay, and I sign a contract with her. I ask about telling my wife and bosses/HR, and she says we should wait. Meanwhile, I have gone and see no contact with my wife. She's back at our son's. At least she's smart enough to know I need space and wasn't at the house when I got home. I'm sleeping on the couch because I can't bring myself to go into our bedroom when I have to foreclose, etc. I grab as much as I can, so I don't go in there more than I have to. Thanks for reading this far. It took forever to type this out. Stuff about my daughter had me in tears for a few hours. We'll update next week. Again, let me say how much I appreciate all the advice and support I've received from this community. I owe each and every one of you a debt of gratitude I will never be able to repay. I can only say thank you and try to reply to all the comments. The support/encouragement has been very helpful. Many of you have said the way I handle the confrontation so well shows strength, but right now, I feel anything but. Just really going through the motions. All the advice has been outstanding and is helping me move forward. Second, the reason for this post, and my original, was because I was reaching out for help. Believe me, there was plenty given. The reason my first post was removed, I was told, was because it had too much storytelling and not asking for support. I will try to keep this short, but I believe details matter. If you didn't see the original post, I've been told it has made its way to YouTube. Use the title for search. I guess so. I'm beginning to realize that there is no way to come back from this, and I'm 99% sure of what my decision will be. I just can't get the thought out of my head that I'll be throwing away 29 years of our lives. Even now, I can't bring myself to type when still referring to her as my wife. WTF is wrong with me? Health. The night of D-Day, she went to our son's and his wife's place. He called wondering what was wrong and why I threw mama. She told him she needed to tell him, or I would. He knows I went to my best friend's house. My daughter was supposed to dog sit and comes home to find no dog. Eventually, she shows up at my best friend's place and wants to know what's wrong. I tell her. The hurt on her face was worse than seeing my wife in bed with the boss, and it killed me. She leaves with the dog to the house and gets Fianch to come over. Saturday morning, I tell my best friend I am going to spend a few days at the cabin. Can he take me home? He agrees. Good idea. I pack up, grab the dog, and go spend time there walking in the woods with the dog and splitting firewood. Good workout. Drive home Monday. On Monday, I started making phone calls to the bank, credit card company, and lawyer. The lawyer recommended someone for me to call and see on Thursday. I played her the recording and she was extremely confident, so I hired her. I asked her about letting my wife's boss in the HR department know, and she thinks we should hold off. I'm home sleeping on the couch and can't bring myself to go into the bedroom except for clothes. On Friday, my son calls to tell me that mom can't stay there anymore and it's making it hard on him and his wife. He asks if his wife can come home. I haven't spoken to my wife since D-Day, but I give in and say okay. She comes back on Saturday. I go back to the cabin, which is cold as hell, but I manage. On Monday, I go straight to the office. People there love my dog and spoil him. Finally, I go home on Monday night. When I see my wife, the only thing I see is what I saw when I opened the bedroom door on D-Day. I don't think I'll ever get past that. Any ideas? Nothing is said. I change and go to my office and basement and try to stay busy. Finally, I watch TV in the basement. She comes downstairs and asks if we can talk about this. I tell her not yet. I'm not ready and please leave me alone. While she's here, I fall asleep in the recliner. I get up early and head to the gym, shower there, and go to work. I go home, and that is my routine for the rest of the week. On Friday, my HR manager asks how I'm doing. I tell her what had happened earlier and saw a therapist. She suggested that I buy a new bed and stop sleeping in chairs and on the couch. It's a great idea, so I take out what's left in the joint account, which is my wife's half, and go get a new bed. The delivery is set up, and I go to the office and wait for the call telling me they will be there in 30 minutes. I stop and pick up a couple of subs for the delivery guys and wait down the block. They pull up, and I meet them, telling them that lunch is on me. I give them each $25 and ask them to do me a favor. I ask them to not load up the old mattress and come back later to pick it up. I lead it up against a tree near the street plaza. They look confused, and I tell them to give me 5 minutes and come in. They'll understand. Now, I thought of burning the old mattress in the driveway, but I didn't want to clean that up. I go upstairs and remove the bedding. While I'm doing this, something comes back to me that I have to find out about. I take a can of Blaze orange spray paint that we use for marking properties we are working on and spray "Wife cheated on me" in big letters on our bed. The guys come in, and my wife asks what's going on. I tell her that I can't sleep in that bed anymore and that she bought me a new one. She acts mad but goes back downstairs. The new bed is set up, and the guys leave the old mattress where I asked. Some time passes, and she tells me that they left the old mattress in the yard. They're coming back for it. I say, trying not to laugh, that I know. Still, I don't think she knows, but the entire neighborhood does. On Valentine's Day, she tries to be romantic and initiate intimacy. She comes back with "We don't F, we make love" in an upset tone. I reply that we haven't made love since she started effing her boss. She looks shocked. Did she think I'd forget? I am just at a loss for understanding what is going on in her mind. I decide now is as good a time as any to talk and tell her to sit down in the living room. I ask her what she wants to do. Are we going to try and fix this, or should we divorce and move on? I don't know why I even offered this. I guess I'm stuck on throwing away 29 years. Please talk me out of this. She says she is willing to do anything I ask to fix this and begs me to forgive her. I tell her she needs to come clean to everyone in our family, starting with her parents and my mom. Dad's been gone for 3 years, including how I found out. Kids don't know this detail. They are coming over tonight. Update later how that goes. That's where I'm at now, still numb from everything and really fighting the urge to go kick her boss's butt. Still need advice. When will this get any better, or is this my new normal? Update, emotions different or more prevalent? Question for other BS out there. Do you find that you might be having more emotional reactions to things that have nothing to do with WS and what's going on? This morning at the gym, I heard a song, Maggie's Song by Chris Stapleton. If you haven't heard it, look it up. It's about the life of his dog. Near the end, there's a line, "I never knew a better dog, I guess I never will." My first black lab has been gone for a while. I have had two since. The one I have now was a huge help on D-Day and in the days after. Of course, I have thought about the first one, but always in a happy way, thinking about stupid things he would do or his first pheasant or playing with the kids in the snow. I still call him the best dog in the history of dogs. Today was different. It was a sad feeling, and man, I miss him. I've been emotional about other things too that I never would have been before. So, any other BS having this happen to them? Guys, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate that you have devoted your time to my work, specifically on this channel. If you subscribe to the channel, I will be happy. But if you decide to talk to me in the comments about this story, I will be even happier. Stay tuned for my next story on this channel.